Stellar Life, mission log number 269.
When you see it yourself with your own two eyes from up close, something shifts inside of you. And what that was for me was, if I can try to put words to it, it was like from one moment to the next, in the snap of a finger and a twinkling of an eye, it was like a glass ceiling of consciousness that was in my field shattered. And from one moment to the next, I knew that anything was possible. And it just expanded my consciousness. It expanded my belief system. It expanded my faith, my hope. It just did something.
Welcome to Stellar Life Podcast. Get inspired and live out loud. From love, freedom, and success to having it all. Here's your host, coach, speaker, and shining star, Orion.
Roger, you're looking good.
Hey, welcome to Stellar Life Podcast. This is your host, Orion. I am so excited about today's guest. He's so much fun. He's a brilliant man. He's got a big heart. He helps the world, helps people heal, and he does a lot around breath work. Kurtis Lee Thomas is a corporate mindfulness trainer and founder of Breathwork Detox. He's a #1 bestselling author of The World is Yours, The Secret Behind the Secret, and author of the #1 new release on Amazon, How to Thrive in the Age of Anxiety. In this episode, of course, we spoke about breathwork, but we also spoke about astral projection and how you can actually travel in your astral body and see things. And, well, you're going to hear it in the episode. A lot of spooky things that you can do using your power, because you got so much power to do, to be, to reach not only power and health and wealth in this dimension, but also in different dimensions. And we spoke on how to handle anxiety and how to handle dark times and see the light at the end of the tunnel. Because we all are going through this crazy time in history. One of the most significant times in history. Things are happening fast. The world as we know it is changing, and that can be stressful. So Kurtis helps you connect and see the light. And it was such a beautiful and fun and reassuring and happy episode. I mean, we spoke and we touched on a lot of serious things, but the overall feel is so beautiful and positive and uplifting. We also spoke on how breath work can produce a molecule called DMT, and that can launch you into different dimensions and create profound healing in your body. So profound that people healed a relationship with their loved ones who passed away. Women that couldn't get pregnant for 8 years got pregnant after doing the breath work. It's very deep. And if you open your mind, well, if you're a listener on my podcast, you know that I go and I talk a lot about spirituality and things that are beyond, because I don't believe that this reality, the things that we feel in our senses, is the only thing there is. And from my own personal experience with Source co-creating and my own astral projection experiences, I know that there is something beyond. And as soon as we tap into that something that is beyond, into that source, we gain so much more healing and so much more power to co-create our reality. I'm sure you're going to love this show. And if you do, please let me know. I would love to hear from you. And now, without further ado, on to the show.
2, 1, 0.
Hey, Kurtis, and welcome to Stellar Life Podcast. It's a pleasure and honor, and it's so much fun that you're here. I'm so grateful.
Yes, thank you for having me. So excited.
Yes, yes. You're one of my favorite new people that I've met recently.
Wow.
It's just like you're just radiating this loving energy, and you're very friendly, and you're very kind, you're so much fun. And we got a chance to meet in the biohacking conference, was it 2 or 3 weeks ago?
Yeah, about 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, something like that. So I did one of your workshops, and then I met you in person, and it was really, really fun meeting you. Felt like I knew you.
That's the transition from the virtual world to the 3D world. Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah, but it was more than that. It was more than that. It was like just like very familiar, something about you. I don't know how to explain it. Like we knew each other.
Yes, that feeling. Yeah.
Yeah, that feeling.
The je ne sais quoi. You just can't
The je ne sais quoi.
articulate that.
Maybe
right?
you are a part of my soul family. I don't know.
Star fan.
Before we begin and before we dive into all the goodness that you have to share with us, tell us a little bit about your life story. How did you become the spiritual teacher that you are today?
Yeah. I mean, I always look at my life almost as if I had two lives, like a past life within this life. And in the beginning, my adolescence, early teenage to my late 20s, it was all about business. I was infatuated with business at a very young age. I've been in all types of businesses you can imagine, from confectionery companies, alcohol companies, magazine, marketing, jewelry, everything. And there was some events that transpired right around when I was 28 years old. And, you could say that my life got turned upside down, but really we realized once we're awakening that our life really got turned right side up. And these events that played out, and there was different events, from like losing my brother to my cousin, who's a crazy quote unquote conspiracy theorist, to seeing UFO sightings with my own eyes. And this all happened like within 3-month time span. All these weird things, like waking up in the middle of the night, astral projecting, like all in this short time period. And I think the universe knew how stubborn I was. I'm very much a Capricorn. I'm very analytical, very skeptical. I got to see it to believe it. So the universe really had to shake me to get me to wake up. And what I mean by wake up is get curious, because that's what waking up is. Curiosity is consciousness at work. And I started to get really curious, but it was more so the things I was getting curious about, which were things I never even thought of, like the spirit world and astral projecting and like energy medicine and all these different things. And it just brought me down what people would know as the rabbit hole. We all been down the rabbit hole, one or two or many. I ended up meeting one of my teachers. As they say, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. She was a very powerful shaman. I had a couple of them, mainly two. And I started working with psychics and became certified as a life coach, a hypnotherapist, Reiki master, and all these different, I became a certification collector. Part of that was also, I was looking to gain knowledge and experiences, but it was also a part of me that needed to feel validated, because I was like entrepreneur. I dropped out of college. I had that. Now I'm like researching this stuff that I can't really find a way to make a business out of it. So I'm like, what am I doing? So I started collecting these certifications that made me feel validated. And then ultimately it did lead me to breathwork, but there was something else going on while all this madness was going on. And that was health problems. I had this mysterious health condition that doctors couldn't tell me what was wrong with me. And it was maddening. So if there's anybody out there, if you're going through something and doctors can't quite diagnose it, trust me when I tell you, I feel your pain.
What happened? What was it? What did you experience?
I went from the best doctors, from neurologists to GI doctors, from LA to New York. And I did colonoscopies, endoscopies. It was in my stomach. So I swallowed pill cameras to go into my small intestines, and they're looking for stuff and they couldn't find it. And I swore on everything that I had like this like new breed of parasites that was undetected by our technology and like probably came from an off-world planet. Like, I don't know. My brain was like scanning through every possibility. But I did go to like India and Thailand and is eating some really weird food. So I'm like, that has to be it. And I was doing the most robust parasite cleanses literally in the world. And, they said, no, I didn't have it. And everything was negative, and started to go a little insane almost, because I started telling the doctors like, no, test me twice, test me 3 times. And I remember one doctor, he looked at me, he said, Kurtis, he goes, I'm gonna be honest with you. You're healthier than I am. There's nothing I can do for you. And like doctors were kicking me out of their offices because they're like, they did every test. So it got so bad. This is like the culmination. It got so bad where I actually checked myself into Los Angeles Emergency Hospital. And I got on the table. I said, listen, cut me open.
Oh, no.
I'll sign the papers, whatever I need to sign. Just cut me open, look inside and tell me. I need to know what's in there. And thank God the doctor didn't allow me to do that, because it wasn't shortly after I had my own Taoist tummy massager. I believe it's called CNT. And mind you, at this time, I'm doing ayahuasca, I'm doing bufo, I'm doing combo, I'm doing ozone, I'm biohacking, I'm doing all this stuff. And my tummy massager lady, she said that my wind gate was blocked.
Huh. What is that massage? What is it called?
CNT. If you're in California, she's amazing. Her name is Janica. She said that my wind gate was blocked, and that's actually the area behind your belly button. And that's where all your chi goes into the body, all the chi leaves the body. It is literally the Times Square of your energy system, which is behind the belly button. And she told me I needed breath work. And that's ultimately what led me to breath work. And I took, I was desperate, so I'll try anything. I took my very first breath work class. And the girl next to me, 5 minutes in, she started bawling her eyes out. I remember she was like 80 pounds soaking wet, tiny girl. And I remember that because the guy next to me was like 6'5", like 290 pounds. And he actually played for the NFL Los Angeles Rams. So 15 minutes after she's crying, this big dude starts crying like a baby. And I'm sitting here like, why the heck is everybody crying? Before I could even finish, I'm bawling my eyes out and everybody's crying. And then after it was all said and done, I floated home. I don't think I've ever felt that good in God knows how long. And it didn't hit me then, but when I woke up, it hit me and my stomach pain was gone.
Wow.
And mind you, this Capricorn analytical brain, I was spending like 3 days trying to wrap my head around how the heck this is even possible. How do I feel relieved? How just from breathing, I don't get it. And then it obviously hit me. And the reason why these doctors couldn't tell me what was wrong with me is because my issue wasn't physical. Mm-hmm. It was energetic. It was emotional. Anatomically, they could not find the issue. And this is the main default with Western medicine. And, I'm not against Western medicine by all means. If I break an arm, God forbid, give me the painkillers, But when you go to Eastern medicine, we really need to meet both worlds, right? Mm-hmm. And that's what I learned is I learned a whole different reality of energy and medicine, with these studies in India and work by Gopi Krishna. And my issue was trauma. It was suppressed trauma. It was things that I was holding on to for literally 30 years. And I wasn't even aware. It wasn't even in my conscious or subconscious. It was in my unconscious. And when that came about and I released it, I literally felt lighter. I felt more buoyant. I felt free. And, the thing is, we don't even realize what we're holding on to until it's gone. And it's the sad part, the scary part, and also the amazing part. Once you do the work and you witness this energy leave your body and how you feel, it's just so liberating.
Wow. That's a really amazing story. I want to go back to the time when you were awakened and what led you to actually see a UFO landing site? And what was it like?
I'll back up to like I first started. This is a really interesting story. I first started seeing lights in the sky. And I remember I was taking my daughter, she was 5. I was taking her to Disney World, and she always like playing with my phone, but I get her own iPad so she didn't have to mess with my phone. And I just remember her asking me, Dad, can I use your phone? Can I use your phone? And I'm like, no, like use yours. And she's like, no. And I'm like halfway sleeping on the plane. She goes, no, God's outside. And I was like, oh, wow. God, just take my phone, whatever. She takes the phone and she takes a picture. She gives it back to me. And I look and I see these 3 orbs following the plane of a picture she took. And I look out the window and there's actual orbs. And that was the first like real experience where I was like, holy crap. Had some weird things happen in dream state that was kind of giving more confirmation and just leading me down this particular rabbit hole. And then when it got real is when I discovered a group of people out there, quite a few of them. It's called CE5. You can Google it. In the last couple of years, they've been suppressing it on YouTube and Google for some reason. Before you type in CE5, you have all these videos, and now you type it in and you have to like dig to find it. But it is out there. So CE5 stands for Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind. It means human initiated contact. So what these people do is they go out into an undisclosed area. Usually I notice it's in deserts where there's not a lot of people around. And they'll do these specific contact protocols that do specific things that will, let's say, attract or communicate with these ETs. And they go and do that, and then they initiate contact, and they're waiting out there for like 3 days straight. Like you're camping out there with your neck up in the sky for like 8-9 hours a day. And I started learning about that. And I was like, come on, like, is this real? And I went to my first one, which it wasn't a CE5. It was just a bunch of people, like 300 people gathered in a baseball field trying to initiate contact. It never happened. But for some reason, I didn't get discouraged. And I'm not sure why, to be honest.
Like, that was a fun party. Let's do it again.
It was cool. It was like, there was a lot of people discouraged, and I was discouraged. But for some reason, I didn't give up, because there was another CE5 event where these people actually had to interview you. And the other one, they didn't have to interview you. This one, they interviewed you, and they only picked 12 people to be a part of this. And we actually went to Joshua Tree. And mind you, nobody's on marijuana or mushrooms or LSD or anything like that. Everyone's sober. And they picked me to be a part of this 12. And I go out there, and all these 11 other people, they've actually all had some significant contact. And they're normal people. They're not like wackos. They're normal people. And 3 days out of that event, and it was actually a CE5 certification, quote unquote, by this gentleman. I forget his name, but the real founder of it is Dr. Stephen Greer, for specifically CE5. And out of those 3 days, every single day, ships, UFOs showed up, and the contact protocols, they worked. And once we called them in and they showed up kind of right in front of us, it was like that moment, something clicked in my brain. Something happened inside of me. And the best way I can articulate it is, you hear about UFOs, you watch them on TV, and some guy on his porch, I seen 3 o'clock in the morning, there was these lights. It's like, you hear the stories, but when you see it yourself with your own 2 eyes from up close, something shifts inside of you. And what that was for me was, if I can try to put words to it, it was like from one moment to the next, in the snap of a finger, in a twinkling of an eye, it was like a glass ceiling of consciousness that was in my field shattered. And from one moment to the next, I knew that anything was possible. And it just expanded my consciousness. It expanded my belief system. It expanded my faith. My hope. It just did something. And now I know why, because I experienced that feeling of liberation, of consciousness, that I know now why the government went through the greatest lengths to suppress this information more than any other information. That is the one thing that they have not and will not yet, yeah, things are changing, disclose because they know what it will do to humanity's consciousness. And then if everyone's consciousness was to be liberated like that, they'll have no control. You cannot control minds that work like that and expand like that. And that is their biggest fear. So I understand that now.
Oh, wow. That's a very important insight. It's like the moment you know something, you cannot unknow it. And then your life changes.
Yes, exactly. Yep.
Wow. And you also said that you had astral projection experiences. What was that like?
Yeah. Some of them amazing, some of them a little spooky. More so, I think it was the overall experience that, I did not know that your body can be sleeping in bed and your soul can come out of the body in full consciousness, like as if we're talking right now, and go travel in the cosmos and fly. Like that is the greatest secret that I think I've ever realized in this whole spiritual awakening, that is that you can actually fly. You can actually be conscious and do these things. And it's not like you're in a dream. It's in your actual mindset that you're in now, which is blew me away. And I had a few of those experiences then. And that also obviously shifted and changed me, because now I'm like, wow, I got superpowers. And we all do it. We all do it every single night. It's not like it's nothing special.
And when you're conscious of your astral projecting during the night, do you go visit people? Like, what can you do with it?
You can do anything. I remember the one time I did it, I astral projected. I don't know how ethical this is, but I astral projected to my ex-girlfriend's house. And I went in her bedroom and I could see everything that was going on. And then when I woke up the next day, I called her and told her my experience. And she was obviously super skeptical because she wasn't like, this is the beginning of my awakening. And I said, I'll prove it. And I started telling her where everything was located in her room. I said, you have pink shorts over here on the thing. You have this statue over here. This thing fell down. You need to pick it up. And she's like, oh my God.
Oh, wow. I got goosebumps.
Yeah. And that's when I was like, I was just as shocked as she was. It's just because I'm waiting for that confirmation. I needed that confirmation and validation because I didn't really know, but I know what I saw. And that moment I was like, wow, like that is a superpower. Now I've only had a few of those experiences and it's mostly it does happen at nighttime. But my original teacher, shaman, she was to this day, not probably, is the most gifted shaman that I ever came across. And pretty much what she could do is be having a conversation with you, and simultaneously while having a conversation with you, she can astral project out of her body in mid-conversation with you, go somewhere else, have another conversation with somebody else in the spirit world, or go visit someone's bedroom, see what's in there, come back into the body within that conversation, and then get the download to tell you what she just experienced.
Wow.
And that's like dual consciousness. I never met anyone actually who could do what she did. And that was the first teacher that I came across in 2011.
So you're coming from a business background, which is very, very left brain. There is no place for all this woo-woo. And then you're having this shift and you're telling people about UFOs and astral projection. I'm like, what happened to you, with your relationships, with your friends, your loved ones? Did they think you lost your mind? Did you lose friendships and acquired new ones?
Good question. I actually wasn't talking about it. I was digesting it. I was integrating it. There was only just a handful of people. My mother was like the main one. And thank God, she always trusted in me. And she immediately, we had our awakening at the exact same time. As soon as I awakened, she awakened, and we started just divulging all this content, and we were going on trips, and we're going to Peru and getting certifications together. So,
oh, that's so beautiful. You got to do this with your mom at the same time.
Wow. So I am blessed for that, but I wasn't really talking about it to anybody. But I was writing a book at the same time. So I was documenting my process, which I believe is the reason why my book has been so successful, is because while I was going through this awakening from totally left brain world, to mentioning and understanding some of the things that we just spoke about, I was documenting the process because this wasn't unique to me. And the process that I was going through was a spiritual awakening process that every single human being on the planet is going to go through and is already currently going through. There's nobody not going through it now. We're just in different stages. And it's not necessarily events. It's more so emotions and realizations that you go through. And this is the awakening. And I was able to document that and spend the first half of the book teaching people their powers, which is the power of thought and emotions and imagination. And yes, the law of attraction and also other laws of the universe, and really teaching them these are your powers and this is how you've been misusing them. And then towards the middle of the book, it goes really deep down the rabbit hole. It's like, okay, now that you know your powers, now that you know how to use them and how you've been misusing them, here's why they've been hidden from you. And that's probably the greatest secret of all, of why the quote unquote government or deep state or whatever you want to call these people, Illuminati, the powers that be that want to suppress humanity, why they do what they do. When you realize that they're really afraid of humanity and they're really afraid of what's about to transpire. And it's very prophetic. Like all these religions that never agreed upon much, that actually went to war and killed each other over indifferences, they're actually all currently saying the same thing. They're all agreeing on the same thing. And that is some sort of godly cosmic phenomenon is upon us. And there's going to be the return of whether it's God or Jesus or Krishna or Mahadi or Christ, whatever it is. Then there's going to be the return of something known as the golden age, heaven on earth. And we're going through the darkest times right now, but people really don't understand the light at the end of the tunnel. And we truly will have heaven on earth. And it's really hard for people to fathom that because it's going to get even darker before we have what's pretty much called the compression breakthrough. And the earth goes through its transformation. And then we're going to be all living in a world that if I was to tell you some of the things that were to transpire, you most likely wouldn't believe me. And it's very prophetic, let's say.
Well, that's really beautiful and reassuring because if you look at mainstream media, it's depressing. If you look at conspiracy theories, it's also very depressing. They don't present a bright future, let's say it this way. So how do you hold on to that belief that the golden age is coming and how do we go through the dark times without getting hurt?
I think the latter question is the one that landed, is how do we go through these dark times without getting hurt? Well, I think we've already been beaten up to maximum capacity. We've been dragged to the mud.
But I've been hearing, like you said, it's going to get darker. It's going to get darker. It's the darkest moment before the light. And I'm like, I don't want it to get darker. I just want the sunrise already.
Okay. So let me answer you, because part of my answer to that was like, you know what? I don't know, but I do know what I know. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know the answer to that for other people, but I can share the answer for me, how I hold no fear and how I'm able to get through. Because now that I know what's on the other side, the events that are about to transpire, that's going to show the power exchange from the dark forces who are currently, quote unquote, in control, or maybe the illusion, because they're really not. They're fighting to the death right now. And the light forces will inevitably take over. So because I know what's going to happen, and I do know, yes, it's going to get really dark before it gets good, my brain is programmed that when I start to see things getting really crazy and haywire and out of control, I rejoice. I celebrate. I get excited because I know that is the formula for liberation. So the crazier it gets, the happier I get, because that's how I know how much closer we are to the breakthrough.
So you're a parent and I'm a new mom. I have a toddler. He's 2. And my whole life, I was very brave, fearless to a point where some people will consider stupid. But I think being a mom really shifted my neurology. And right now I have something that I'm protecting, taking care of, and I want to give him the best world ever. And I want to shield him from all this, like those turbulences. So for somebody like me, how can I get this reassurance? I don't think I can rejoice when I see darkness. Like, it's hard for me. I'm also I just think you are too. I don't think I got to a point where my empathic abilities are not in the way of me seeing the bright side. Because when I see humanity suffering, when I see other people suffering, it's almost like I take it in. I'm learning how not to, but it's still a process.
Yeah. So there's kind of two things there to talk about. The first one is your son, right?
Yeah.
And something that was very difficult for me, and this is probably a little bit of ego getting in the way, but it also pertains to you. And what you have to realize is that your son, even though he can't articulate it, he actually knows more about what's about to transpire than you do.
Probably. Yes.
He's more fresher from the spirit world.
Right.
So he knew exactly what he was coming into.
Mm-hmm.
So he already knows, maybe not consciously, but subconsciously in the DNA in the cell, he knows he signed up for this ride. And yeah, you're there to protect him and be in his greatest, interest, but you're not there to worry, because you being a warrior and not a warrior isn't going to be beneficial.
I used to be a warrior and now I'm a warrior. What's going on? What is that? I used to be super tough and like super strong and like not being fit. Like I also almost kind of like a Pollyanna, and whatever happened to the world and becoming a mom kind of shift that. Now I'm like more of a, how can I take care of everybody around me and make sure everybody else is safe?
Well, I mean, that's not just you though.
No, of course not. I'm giving myself as an example because I know that other people can relate.
This is a worldwide spell. I mean, I had this conversation with my mom. I was like, Mom, I go, do you remember like I used to ride my bike? Like I'd just be like, hey Mom, I'm taking off, and like ride my bike, and I'd just be riding everywhere and then come home. And then now, one, you don't see kids riding their bike anywhere. And you can blame it on video games. You can blame it on all that stuff. And yeah, it's probably a part of it. But what I see is that somewhere very slowly but surely, the fear knob of this planet was cranked up to the max, where it doesn't even feel safe to have your kid riding on a bike by themselves. Like that sounds actually absurd. And this is like the level of fear that has been increased, and not just you, not just me, but everybody has this certain level of fear. And yeah, we have to disarm that because it's not real. And this is kind of where you get into the illusions and all that stuff. But one of the biggest things that was hard for me to understand was when my daughter was 5 years old, I was going to this really powerful psychic, and she was always on point. And she said, what you need to understand about your daughter is that, and she goes, I don't know how you're going to take this, but she is just as aware or more aware than you are. And I was like, what do you mean, just as aware? She's like, or more aware. And I was like, how is this little girl more aware? And I had to come to those terms. And, she knew a lot once I started not shielding the world from her, and I started sharing things with her. And then as soon as I did, she began to open up. She began sharing things with me. She started to give psychic readings at my book signings. Like she is.
No way.
Oh my God. This girl is tuned in, tapped in, and turned on. And she understands business. Like she's 14 now. So, I can, the conversations that we have are much more mature, but I was talking to her almost the same way when she was 5 and 6, because some of the information that was coming through, I needed that. And I'm over here thinking she coming on me, but I'm like, wait a second, we both need each other here, and we're both helping each other out.
I have to admit that my son teaches me so much, and he's this wide soul, is this bright light, wise. He's so wise. It blows my mind how this little 2-year-old that his language is very good. He speaks 2 languages. He speaks Hebrew and English. And he forms complete sentences and complete ideas. And I look at him and I'm like, wow, you're such a miracle. Like, I think the kids that are coming to this world are really, really special. And then, they're so special.
They really are. And we sometimes we can get caught in like 3D and believe like, hey, I'm the parent, I'm bigger, I'm stronger.
We get caught in the ego, but
We got to protect. But sometimes, like if you look at the spirit world, like that child, your child, my child, they are actually a certain frequency, a completely different vibration. And that frequency and vibration is actually more protective than us sitting in the house with a revolver in our hand.
oh wow. Wow. Yeah. It's a beautiful way to see that.
Yeah.
I want to talk about your book. The world is yours, ours, the awakening, the secret behind the secret. I started my spiritual journey when I was very little. I was always very connected. My mom actually gave me the book, The Power of Your Subconscious Mind from Joseph Murphy when I was, I think, a teenager, and also Louise Hay. So I was into affirmations and subconscious mind and connecting with my guides for a long, long time. And it seems like, and I feel like this whole awakening, this shift is happening around me to people. People are not afraid to talk about spirituality anymore. It's not a taboo. It's even becoming a cool thing to talk about. Not with everybody, but way more than before. And I think one of my favorite movies ever was The Secret. And I had Dr. John DeMartini here on the podcast. And I had Amit Goswami from What the Bleep Do We Know on this podcast. So I really love this knowledge around, universal laws and what's going on. But and I understand why you say the secret behind the secret, because the movie was very simple and it was just like a little taste and how would you describe it? Like what was missing that is in your book?
Oh gosh. The books are completely different because they're actually exact opposite, because The Secret really wanted to be into your mind and subconscious about the law of attraction and the fact that your intentions and your thoughts and your visualizations and your actions is what initiates the law of attraction, and kind of repeating that pattern and giving different scenarios and testimonials and success stories and until you got it. That was all that they wanted you to know. And my book is the opposite, because there's actually hundreds of tiny pieces of information that was designed to pretty much unlock consciousness codes and trigger people's awakening. And that is like the book. It is an awakening book. This is why people like New York Times bestseller Jim Marrs, G.W. Hardin, they said that book is in Laura Eisenhower, which is President Eisenhower's granddaughter, said that's one of the best books to give to somebody who's having a tough time waking up. So people are buying like 10 of these books at a time and passing them out to their families, because there's literally consciousness codes inside of the book that trigger people's awakening. And it's different for everybody. I mean, I've heard hundreds, maybe even over 1,000 stories of how the book helped them awaken. And it's a different part of the book for different people. And you wouldn't think this would awaken that person, or that would awaken this person. It's different. And that's what the book is like. It talks about everything within spirituality from A to Z, to angel numbers, to astral traveling, to, spirit guides, to aliens, to the laws of the universe, power of thought, imagination, and visualization, very brass tacks, very foundational information, and then very deep and profound. However, it is written in layman's terms. No matter how deep and profound it gets, it is written so literally a 10-year-old could read the book. And I've had several testimonials from mothers and parents that their 10-year-olds have read the book and it completely changed the trajectory of their life.
Wow. And I think the hardest thing to do as a teacher is to put complex ideas in layman terms. And also, some people who are very smart, they want to be perceived as very smart. So they convey their idea in a very complex language and words that I don't understand, English being my second language. And I try to figure it out. But the truth is sometimes simpler than we think. And the greatness of a teacher is to explain those things in the most simple way. So it's going to be not about the teacher, but it's going to be accessible for a 10-year-old and change the trajectory of their lives.
Yeah, I mean, I love what Albert Einstein said, and he said, any fool can complicate things. Genius to simplify it.
Nice. Yes, I totally get it. Yes.
And I went through that myself. When I first started writing, I got this Harvard editor and I wanted to sound so smart, and I was like outsmarting myself and like not understanding my own book. And I'm like, if I can't understand my own book, then how are other people? And then it has allowed myself to get into flow and just channel the right words. And it just came out in a way that is so much received and appreciated.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. So definitely, I recommend everyone to get your book, and it's phenomenal. I want to talk about breath work. I want to talk about the thing that you're doing mainly at this point of your journey. This is something that you do, and you do a lot, and you help a lot of people with breath work. Why breath work? You touched on it a bit before, but maybe you can expand and share more about it.
Yeah, my personality has always been, because I've been in sales my entire life, and I could obviously never sell anything that I didn't believe in. And I've only gotten a part of things that I was head over heels, completely, totally passionate, willing to die for. You know, that's been my passion level. And breathwork fell right in alignment with that, because I spent a decade discovering all the biohack. Like, we met at the biohacking conference, you know, and biohacking and just weird spiritual healings and all these things. And what I discovered just baffled me. And one of the most powerful healing modalities out there, even most of the more powerful, let's say, than even some of the plant medicines, was breath work. And I just couldn't wrap my head around it. And once I know what it did for me, and I had my own powerful testimonial, knowing that I tried all these things and nothing worked, but this specific breathing technique worked, then I knew. I literally dropped everything I was doing. And I'm like, the world needs to know about this, because I've seen the vision. I've seen the future of this. And mark my words, breathwork will be the new yoga. It hasn't even started to blow up, because there's yogis that have been doing pranayama for like 20 years. They'll come to my class thinking that they've done this modality before. And, you know, they're having their breakthroughs. They're doing their big, ugly cries. And then afterwards, they're just like so amazed and looking at me like, what was that? Like, oh my God. And then they're taking my teacher trainings, and now I'm training them. And now they're going into the world and they're teaching it. So I don't know where it got lost. That it got lost in this era, in these last few decades, and it's coming back from India 5,000 years ago, I guess.
Yeah. What is the breathwork system that you are practicing? Because I've been in India, I've been in Oneness University, and they did some breath work that was similar to the one I experienced with you. And I went astral projecting, and it was crazy, like, wow, incredible thing, feeling like I'm at one with everything, and my spirit goes into like different places. It was really a powerful experience. And then I had a private coach one-on-one he does rebirthing. And that was also phenomenal. And I mean, every experience was different, but in a couple of them, I went very deep into my subconscious mind. I acquired a memory from being, I don't know, a few weeks old. I was born premature, and I was in the, how do you call that place where you put little babies? That
incubator?
Yeah, in the incubator. Yeah. I had a memory of that point and also the belief that was formed from being there and what happened. And then, oh my God, so many layers and levels and stuff that I've been through just through breath work. Getting there was like a very psychedelic and very deep and very emotional experience. What is the type of breath work that you are practicing? Is it like rebirthing? What is it like?
So it's deep diaphragmatic breathing, 2 breaths in, 1 breath out, in through the mouth, out through the mouth. And it sounds very unassuming, but the best example or analogy I can give is if anyone listening has ever played a video game, let's say Nintendo or Sega Genesis, let's say Nintendo, and you're playing and they have something called cheat codes. And if while you're playing, if you do this certain sequence, up, down, left, right, A, B, then boom, all of a sudden you unlock all this magic and these superpowers and all these weird things start to happen that are really, really cool. Well, guess what? Our body is the most advanced bio, machine out there, and it has its own cheat codes. And this specific breathing technique that I teach in Breathwork Detox is like that up, down, left, right, A, B. And then right around the 8 to 12 minute mark, something amazing happens. And that is called transient hypofrontality. It's where you reach your peak resistance. And when you decide to push through, all of a sudden you enter this transient hypofrontality where the prefrontal cortex begins to quiet down. And the reason why that's important is because that's the part of the brain that distinguishes you're you, I'm me, this is good, this is bad. It judges everything. It's the monkey mind, it's the critic, it's the self-saboteur. And when you quiet that down, you literally enter into this quantum field. And in this quantum field, you're able to see with crystal clarity all the answers that you've been seeking. And you're able to get messages, you're able to get downloads, have epiphanies, all within this space. And, it takes about 8 to 12 minutes of this specific breathing to unlock that. And that's the space you're talking about. And then also what's happening simultaneously is that the body produces something called DMT, which is dimethyltryptamine, which is also known as the spirit molecule. You can go on Netflix, type in the spirit molecule. A whole documentary will come up on DMT. Well, it secretes to the pineal gland when you go to bed at night. It's responsible for launching you in another dimension when you sleep because it puts you in a dream state. So it is the greatest virtual reality mechanism ever known. And people don't know is that the lungs produce more DMT than the pineal gland. And when you start to do this breathing technique, all of a sudden you start to microdose DMT. And now this is the reason why people have these profound mystical experiences where they're able to connect to their grandmother who passed and have a conversation with them. They're able to heal from a trauma that was suppressed from 30 years ago. They're able to see the future or whatever it may be. I've actually had several people, 3 to be exact, females that came to me with the same story, very similar, saying that they've been married for, I forget how many years they were married for, but they were trying to have kids for 8 years. 8 years trying to have kids. And during the breath work, one of the girls seen like this dark or black energy kind of leave from her stomach, uterus area. And at that moment, she knew that she could get pregnant. And then within, 3-4 weeks of time, she was pregnant. She sent me the little picture with the thing, and I'm like waiting for these people to name their babies after me, but they haven't. But I've witnessed numerous miracles from this. So it's really difficult to articulate what breathwork can do because it's different for everybody, and that's the reason why I like it, and that's why I always set my intention not for someone to heal this or heal that. It's
you never know what's going to come up, because I remember with my sessions, I did 10 of them. I think it was, the last one was 6 months ago. So I did 10 sessions. And in those 10 sessions, I came with like an intention to work on one thing. And sometimes it did. And sometimes I just went totally different places that I didn't even know. I mean, I'm always fascinated with the power of the subconscious mind and then tapping into those different realms. I just got certified in RTT. Do you know what it is? It's rapid transformation therapy.
Does that have anything to do with the eyes?
No, it's not. It's not EMDR. Okay. RTT is a method by Marisa Peer. She's one of, I think, the greatest therapists in the world. And it combines hypnotherapy, cognitive behavior therapy, neuro-linguistic programming, and psychotherapy all at once. And in 1 to 3 sessions, you can cure addictions or like really like deep wounds. And it's really miraculous because I've been experiencing that, and I've been, working with other people. So I'm like, wow, that and breath work and this and that. I just want to combine everything, because when I'm when I'm working with somebody, I just want to help them with everything that I have. So I'm like, I think all those methods are amazing. And when somebody is seeking healing, they should try everything and never give up.
Yep.
And breath work is one of the most accessible thing to try. And breath work with you is a party. It's so fun.
It is an experience.
It is a great experience. Maybe you can share a bit about, I know I experienced your breath work and I thought it was extraordinary, but maybe you can share it from your perspective.
I don't want to paint any pictures in people's heads. We'll just say that it is very unique. I focus on not just the deep, profound healing, but the curation and the experience that people have. And the great thing about breathwork is that it's different every time you do it, and it's different for everybody. So every time is a new experience. So
when somebody comes into it, they should come with no expectation, as a blank slate, and then they will get the most out of it.
Yeah.
Because when you like you said, when you start having images or expectations, that monkey mind can be more in the way. Like, it will lose resistance eventually, but when you just come open and say, like, I'm going to experience whatever. Worst case scenario, I got more oxygen into my body. Then you can be in the flow and allow whatever needs to come and heal you to come.
Yes, that is the best way. The only intention I tell people to have is to show up with no expectations and set the intention to release things that no longer serve their highest and greatest good, and to fill those spaces with light and love.
Right. Okay, awesome. Because I want to be respectful of your time, and I can speak with you for hours and hours on end, because you are a fascinating human being, and I just love everything that you have to share. What are your 3 top tips to living a stellar life, and where can people find you?
3 top tips to living a stellar life.
Top tips for now.
Okay. I'd say number 1 is being brutally honest with yourself. And I think that's connected to consciousness and self-awareness and shadow work, and, able to see the truth even through your own stuff. I think that's really important. And then also some other tips. Oh gosh, trying to be unique and not say eat right and drink a lot of water.
Eat right, drink a lot of water.
Even though those are really good things to do, and but it is like, I make sure that I move my body. I get energy flowing.
I get it, because you got to take care of the vessel, because when you are tired, lethargic, you don't have energy, like your chi is stuck, and so your vessel is constricted. It cannot receive the amount of light that it can have when you're better. Even though, somebody have physical limitation, they still can connect. But if somebody is able to take care of their body and move their body, then do it. Take care of your body in any way you can.
Yes.
Because we are, like Wayne Dyer said, we are spiritual beings having a human experience. And while we're having this human experience, we need to take care of this 3D reality while we connect to the 5D.
It is very important. And I would say the third one would be to follow your highest joy.
Wait, what was the second one? Take care of your body?
Take care of your body. Be in tune. The body is the vehicle. It is the one taking the beating on this earth journey. It's the dirty part of the incarnation. So
it's not dirty, it's beautiful.
Well, it's the one that we dirty. that we need to keep clean, because
our bodies are incredible.
It is our flesh suit,
I call it my goddess suit.
Your goddess suit.
We do not agree.
Your goddess suit and your temple, right? Your temple.
Yeah, let's do that.
And then follow your highest passion, your highest joy, because that literally is your navigation system. It's the only thing that you have. And like my story, and like a lot of the healers and people that I work with, is they say one saying is, if you want to make God laugh, show him your plans. Yeah. Right? It's like you can have these plans in your head, but really you have to follow your joy and excitement, and that could change, as time goes on. And for a healer like me, it's like, if God wants you to be a healer, be prepared to get broken. And that was kind of what I had to go through and experience. But I've always, through all through that, followed my joy. And it led me to what I'm doing now, where I feel completely and totally aligned with my purpose. So that following your highest joy, that is your navigation. It's your only navigation system in life.
Oh, I love that. I mean, it's so much fun. Every time I hear you or I'm around you, and I feel even happier. So thank you for being so extraordinary. And before we say goodbye for now, and I want you back on the show, please, how can people find you?
Yes. So people can find me by going to Breathwork Detox, Breathwork with no E, breathworkdetox.com, or they can go to manfromthestars.com, which is also my Instagram. So my Instagram's Man From The Stars. You can go to manfromthestars.com, or you can go to breathworkdetox.com, and you can see kind of all the cool things that we offer if you ever wanted to take a journey with me. And those are the two ways. And I appreciate you greatly. Thank you so much, Orion, for having me. And I absolutely will come on again.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you very much. And thank you, listeners. Remember to be brutally honest with yourself. Take care of your body. Follow your highest joy, because that is your navigation, and have a stellar life. If you liked and enjoyed this show, please like it, give it a 5-star rating, review it, because that's the best gift that you can give me. And I really, really appreciate you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being amazing. Remember that you are awesome. You're great. You belong. You matter. You are loved. And have a stellar life. This is Orion. Till next time. Thank you for joining me on my mission to light people up and change lives around the world. I hope today's conversation inspires you to step up, go after the life of your dreams, and be who you want to be. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to go to stellarlifepodcast.com for show notes, transcripts, and other cool stuff. And please subscribe, review, and help spread the word by sharing us on Facebook and Twitter. Have a lovely day, and I'll catch you on the next episode.